Hello everybody, this is Kirby over yonder, and with the recent announcement of Fighter Pass 2, everyone has been speculating on which 6, technically 5 now, characters will make it into Smash. Some people want Crash, some people want Dante, some people even want Waluigi for some reason. But personally, there is no character I want to be in Smash more than Bandana Dee. Admittedly, part of that is because of my Kirby bias. However, even that aside, there are still plenty of reasons why I want Bandana Dee in the game. However, I'm also aware that there is a lot of discourse. There are plenty of people that don't want Bandana Dee in the game. So here's how I'm gonna structure this. I'm going to give my 2 biggest reasons as to why I want Bandana Dee in the game, and then provide 2 counter-arguments and explain why those counter-arguments are invalid. But if you have your own counter-arguments as to why Bandana Dee shouldn't be in the game, then please let me know in the comments. Although this is something that I personally feel strongly about, I also want to hear everyone's perspective on it. Just remember to keep things civil. I mean, it's just a video game character we're talking about. Reason 1. Moveset potential. If you look at Ultimate's roster, you may notice that there's a severe lack of fighters that primarily wield a spear. Yeah, I know Byleth uses a spear for some moves, but again, I'm speaking primarily here. Bandana Dee would be the first character to truly break that mold. I don't want to go into his entire moveset here, but you could literally copy and paste his moveset from Return to Dreamland and Star Allies and you're basically already halfway done. He could jab his spear at other fighters, throw one or multiple spears, twirl his spear around like a helicopter, and perform a downward thrust. He could also possibly borrow a few moves from the Parasol ability in order to represent the Waddle Dees as a whole. And he could throw gem apples in order to represent his role in the Kirby Clash games. In case you're wondering, they'd pretty much work the same way Magolor uses them in Kirby Star Allies, where you press the button to throw them, and then you press it again to have them go off. And his final smash would be him breaking through the stage, much like he does in the Megaton Punch minigame in Kirby Superstar. Overall, Bandana Dee has a ton of moveset potential, and I think he'd be a great addition to the game. Reason 2. Kirby representation. You may look at the Kirby representation in Smash Bros. Ultimate and think, yeah, this is fine. Well, I'm here to tell you that it's not. First off, they only have 3 characters, which, considering how important Kirby is to Nintendo, is quite a huge misjustice in my opinion, especially considering the fact that they have 1/3 the amount of Fire Emblem characters, yet quadruple the amount of variety. Also, just think about how much modern Kirby games get represented in Smash Bros. We have 11 songs, with only one of them being a remix, and Kirby's final smash being the Ultra Sword from Return to Dreamland. There's not even any songs from Epic Yarn, which sucks because that game has a wonderful soundtrack. Now let's take a look at how much older Kirby, particularly Dreamland and Superstar, representation is in Smash Bros. We have 29 songs, with 20 of them being remixes. A boss fight, every Kirby stage in the game, including that god-awful Great Cave Offensive stage, and the entirety of Kirby, Deity, and Meta Knight's movesets aside from Kirby's final smash. As you can probably tell, modern Kirby has very little representation in Smash Bros. However, the inclusion of Bandana Dee could easily fix that problem. While he does technically debut in Kirby Superstar, the inclusion of him with his spear would represent his role in the modern games. And hopefully with him, he'll bring a new stage, music, and hopefully remixes to represent modern games. For a new stage, I'm really hoping for Highness's Lair from Kirby Star Allies. That place looks fantastic and would make an awesome Smash stage. Argument 1. Marx would be better. Boy, am I ready to have some controversial opinions. Now, I know this is all just a matter of opinion. However, there's a difference between having a personal preference and thinking that one thing is objectively better than another thing. If you prefer Marx over Bandana Dee, then that's perfectly fine. But if you think he's an objectively better pick just because you like him more, then boy do I have news for you. First off, Marx is already a boss in the game, so it would be kinda weird to make him a playable character as well. But ignoring that, let's talk about Marx's actual relevance to the Kirby series as a whole. Well, he's the final boss of the Milky Way Wishes mode in Kirby Superstar. Then he shows up in Kirby Star Allies over 20 years later, as DLC. He was literally an afterthought. Oh, and he's also a boss in the pinball minigame in Kirby Mass Attack. I'm so sorry for missing such an important detail. Bandana Dee, on the other hand, has been consistently showing up in Kirby games for almost 10 years now. He's a playable character in Return to Dreamland. He gives you items in Triple Deluxe and Planet Robobot. He's playable in Rainbow Curse, and is the only playable character in that game aside from Kirby. He gives you gem apples in Team Kirby Clash Deluxe and Super Kirby Clash. He's right by Kirby's side in Battle Royale, and he's playable in Kirby Star Allies, and unlike Marx, is playable from the start. You'd have to be tripping to believe that Marx would be a better character to add in Smash than Bandana Dee. That wonderful piece of art was made by my buddy Raiden, by the way. Go subscribe to him. The only thing Marx would do is make it so there's even more Superstar representation in the game. Don't get me wrong, I have nothing against Kirby Superstar. In fact, its remake, Superstar Ultra, is one of my favorite Kirby games. But just looking at how much representation it gets in Smash, you'd think it's the only Kirby game out there. It's also kind of hard to root for Marx when Magolor is literally him but better. Both of these characters have a very similar thing going on. Both characters start out as very trustworthy, but by the end of the game are revealed to have had evil intent the entire time. But the main difference is, Magolor is a character that you see throughout the entirety of Return to Dreamland. As the game goes on, you build up a bit of a friendship with him. So when he betrays you at the end of the game, it leaves so much stronger of an impact. I mean, just look at Dee's face. This is the face of a man whose mind is utterly blown right now. In Milky Way Wishes, Marx shows up at the beginning of the game, is completely gone throughout most of it, and then just shows up again at the end. Except now, he is a bad guy. Look, in terms of his presentation, Marx is great, but as far as being an actual character goes, Magolor's clearly got him beat. For the record, I'd still prefer if Bandana Dee got in, but honestly, if Magolor got in instead, I wouldn't really be complaining. Argument 2. Hat Goomba. Okay, this argument really pisses me off. The last one was at least just a matter of having a different opinion, but this one is factually incorrect. First off, Piranha Plant. I think the fact that this character is in the game alone disproves this point, but don't worry, I have more. Bandana Dee might have had the most development out of any character in the Kirby series. Allow me to explain. In the Revenge of the King mode in Kirby Superstar Ultra, he fights Kirby in Dee's honor, and he fails miserably, putting himself to shame. Then in Kirby 64, he resigns from his bandana and joins Kirby on his adventure. That is, if you consider this to be the same Waddle Dee as Bandana Waddle Dee. Admittedly, it's a little hard to tell, but he has a similar reddish tint to him that Bandana Dee has, and it would make sense for them to be the same character. From his adventure with Kirby, he learns how to be a hero, and even helps sway Dee to the side of good. Then, by Return to Dreamland, he picks up a spear, reclaims his bandana, and officially becomes one of Kirby's greatest allies. Okay, so it's not an amazing arc. I'm not trying to say that Bandana Dee is the most complex character out there or anything, but he clearly has a character arc and is more than just a hat Goomba. He started as just another one of Dee's minions, but grew to be one of the greatest heroes in all of Dreamland. And there's no better way to cement his character development than by putting him in Smash.